Welcome to the Land to Lots podcast, powered by Launch Development Finance Advisors. And now your host, Carter Froelich.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second installment of the Project Diagnostic Review. If you did not listen to the first episode, which was held on Monday, I encourage you to go back and listen to that first. With that having been said, let's get into today's episode. The other item that we're looking at is, do we have and have we included and do we have the ability to include a special purpose taxing district? When you go back and look at our work that we do with RCLCO and the top selling master plan communities in the United States, every time the publication comes out, somewhere between 85 and 92% of all of the top selling master plan communities are utilizing some sort of special purpose taxing district. Why are all the top selling master plan communities using special purpose taxing districts? Well, for the simple reason that we are building a city. The cities, the jurisdictions, the counties, at least in my experience, have really gotten out of the infrastructure business, and they're relying upon the public sector to build that infrastructure. Public sector says, fine, great, we'll do it, but at least allow us to finance it as if we were a jurisdiction, thus the use of the special purpose taxing districts, which allow us to issue tax exempt bonds to build public infrastructure. This is a really big deal. I don't think that there's any master plan of any size that can go forward without a special purpose taxing district. So we're talking about community facilities districts in the states of Arizona, California, Hawaii. We're talking about metro districts in Colorado. We're talking about MUDs, PIDs in freshwater supply districts, municipal management districts in Texas, community development districts in Florida, special improvement districts in Nevada, and community infrastructure districts in Idaho, just to name a few. But if we do not have the ability, or if we do not and have not put in the fact that we can set up a special purpose taxing district, and if our project is located in a state that allows it, we really need to consider this, because this will be a huge, huge offset to the backbone infrastructure requirements generated by the or required by the master plan community. So typically what we do when we're starting this is we look at our project's existing tax rate. We'll then go survey to determine what the other tax rates are of the competitive master plan communities. And to the extent that they're all using districts, which our experience is that they are, we will determine how much bonding capacity we have to lift our tax rate to be on par with that of the competition. And once we have an understanding of what our maximum bonding capacity is, we can then go start to determine what types of infrastructure we want to finance. Here again, it's all public infrastructure, so it has to be both anything that will be owned and operated by a jurisdiction or a quasi-public agency. And we're going to keep this number in our back pocket, because we're going to want to look at some of this infrastructure and prepare our shopping basket of the types of infrastructure that we want to finance when we want to finance it, trying to match it up with our phasing plan. But also we want to be able to see what infrastructure we can finance through the district, what infrastructure we can finance out of third-party debt and or equity and receive a reimbursement through impact fees. So we're starting to right now flip puzzle pieces over so that we can begin to understand how we're going to finance all of this infrastructure and maximize the amount of reimbursements that are coming in to our pro forma. So We can get into a lot of detail on, everything that's required with these special districts. But for right now, all I really want everyone to think about is if we have the ability to do districts, if districts are being used in our state, why aren't we showing them as being utilized in every one of our projects? You definitely want to include those because it's going to give you access to the tax exempt bond markets, and the tax exempt interest rates will lower your overall cost of capital. The other item that we see more and more, and this, a lot of it comes out of California, but we see it in Arizona. We're starting to see it more and more in Texas. But as part of the development agreements, the jurisdictions oftentimes will say, hey guys, that fire station, we want you to pay $1 million a year. We'll stay with this example. And, we have some other shortfalls that we would like you to cover related to police. And, maybe they seem to be really focusing on public safety. They will come up with a number that they want us to subsidize over time, typically for police and fire facilities, but also for parks. And it can be a whole array of different types of infrastructure. And the thing that we really want to make sure is that we're not just accepting what the city is saying that these costs are. Oftentimes, in our experience, we find that the jurisdictions, cities, counties, agencies hire a consultant, and that consultant miraculously comes up with a number that the city wants, and they give us the report, and they want our clients to fund that amount. We take a different approach. We will try to understand what the jurisdiction's concerns are. We will understand what and why and how the jurisdiction's consultants came up with their information. But rather than using their preferred cost structure, what they think it will cost, and the preferred level of service that they would like to see this asset operated at, we will look at the jurisdiction's comprehensive annual financial report, and we will go in and determine, first of all, based on their audited financials, what their existing levels of service are, for instance, park maintenance, or for police and fire, what those actual costs are. And we will come back and talk to them about, guys, your numbers are maybe aspirational. Ours are based on reality, based on your public comprehensive annual financial report. And often we're able to reduce that amount of obligation that the jurisdiction is wanting us to fund. Here again, as jurisdictions become more and more strapped, as their retirement systems become more and more demanding on additional revenue sources to fund the deficit liabilities that they have in their pension funds, the cities are going to keep on asking for more and more funding of infrastructure that they feel master plan communities do not provide, especially in the initial stages. We completely disagree with that. But here again, this is something that we see a lot of. Number one, we want to make sure if it's in the development agreement that we've got it in the pro forma as a worst case scenario. And then we want to go back and have another conversation with the jurisdiction to see if we can reduce that. The other item that oftentimes we go through and look at in the pro forma is, has the developer considered the reimbursement of infrastructure coming back through development impact fees? If not, why? Is that a possibility? Yes or no? If yes, what is the state's statutory requirements for collecting impact fees? And what is the local practice, if you will, related to determining the payback? Is it at the cost that the municipality has included in the impact fee study, or is it the actual cost that the developer is incurring? We like to have a feel for what's going on. But one of the first things that we do is, if we are being hit with big development fees that we have to fund, we want to verify, number one, are these impact fees legitimate? Do they pass the dual rational nexus test? Do they match up to case law and industry standards for collecting these impact fees? We have found, and we have been doing impact fee study reviews for the private sector for over 20, I think 30 years now. And we've been averaging about a 26% reduction in impact fees just because they were calculated incorrectly. We see a multiple array of different errors that the jurisdictional consultants make. In fact, we've put together, and I encourage you to go listen to the common errors found in development impact fee studies podcast that you should be able to locate on Lands to Lot podcast index. So go take a look at those. First of all, are the impact fees correct if we're having to pay them? If we are, and typically where I'm kind of working on both sides of the ledger here. For the home builders, we're typically looking at impact fees and trying to get those impact fees down. For the master developers, I'm trying to get them up, meaning we have to build a lot of infrastructure. We want to make sure that, to the extent we're not financing it through our special purpose taxing districts, that we're getting impact fee reimbursements. So as part of today's conversation, I'm just going to focus on making sure that we're collecting impact fees, with the strategy being for the master developer that anything that we're not financing through the community or the special purpose taxing district, we're collecting through a development impact fee. And this typically relates to more regional and infrastructure, both offsite and on. Typically, we're looking at collectors and the utilities under the collectors and above. So arterials, parkways, those kind of things. That will conclude the second episode of the Project Diagnostic Review. We encourage you to stand by and listen to the third and concluding episode on Friday. See you then.
You have been listening to the Land to Lots podcast with Carter Froelich. Follow us wherever you find your podcast to never miss a new episode.